Good morning. Very stupid o'clock, everyone. Yes, I'm up an hour later doing this video than I usually am on a Monday morning. Sue me, I was exhausted yesterday and I did it an hour later. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going back to that horror show of a quote unquote school, the JRC, but before we get started, a few of the usual disclaimers. First off, you are going to see the link to this investigation into the 1995 death of, oh my gosh, Linda Cornelison right there in the description box, along with the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including the massive archive put together by Autistic Hoya. The templates, folks, sign your name, click on your sender. Let's end adversive therapies and proper restraints and seclusion in schools. It takes lives every year. And the ever-present change.org, shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down petition, which I believe is self-explanatory. Now, folks, when we are talking about the JRC, trigger warning, you are going to hear vivid descriptions of, catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you have young children present, please use your headphones, especially during this particular series, because we are going into the investigation of the death of one of the students that took place back in 1990 at the JRC. Okay? Now, it is 4:11 a.m. stupid o'clock in the morning. If you all want to know if I'm still exhausted and my brain barely functioning, you'd be correct. So, if I stumble over any of my words this morning or just have another genuine brain fart like I did yesterday, my apologies in advance, alright? Okay, so we're going to where we left off yesterday. So, there are some archaic terms in here because for whatever reason, even in the 90s, we felt that mental retardation was an appropriate term. So, please forgive me for when I read out loud. This is a court document, not my personal opinion, okay? Alright, so we are going to the part that is BRI's psychiatric evaluation completed in January of 1985. Oh no, we already read it. Sorry. Number 3, description of Vi's behavioral program, December the 12th, 1989 through December of 1990, last year of her life. BRI groups behaviors under major categories. For example, Vi between the September of 1990 and December 1990, her behaviors were grouped under 8 such major categories as follows. Let's see how outdated these are. I'm curious now. Aggressive behavior, health dangerous behavior, destroy, health dangerous behavior inappropriate, urine defecation, non-compliance, education socially, major disruptive and inappropriate verbal. Why the fuck was non-compliance so big in the 90s, 80s, 70s? Can someone explain this shit to me? Why is it people with disabilities well into their adulthood are expected to comply, but if a neurotypical quote-unquote acts out and acts different outside of the norm, they are stunning and brave? Explain this shit to me. Why do you hold disabled people up to a standard that you do not hold everyone else to? That's my question. Moving on. Included in the category of aggressive behavior was described as bite, hit, grab, to include grabbing when consequence is being administered. If Vi displayed these behaviors in the day program or at the residence, she would receive spatula spanks, finger pinches, or ammonia. The category of inappropriate verbal included behaviors such as non-speech noises, silly laughing, and nagging. Hey, I got non-speech noise for you. There's something about it, DRC. Oh, that's right, you can't. We don't allow your psychotic asses in Missouri. Some of the things they shock people for, they're like, but they are aggressive. Okay, let's play devil's advocate here. Okay, you gotta restrain someone when they're getting out of control. Granted. How the hell is someone taking a shower out of control? Or sleeping? Or restrained? Just saying. Moving on. If she displayed these behavior, the consequences would include rotating taste aversives, vapor spray, and ammonia. The probate court in substituted judgment determination approved the treatment of plans proposed by BRI with some modifications. The orders afforded BRI flexibility in treating Vi by allowing BRI to use any consequence within the same category. God, really? Really? For people who want to go back to the 80s, really? Want to go back to corporal punishment for things that are coming from someone's neurology, and you think that's going to work? Okay. This is why pharmacology has evolved a lot. Just saying. In April 1987, the court ordered BRI to provide notice of change in treatment using a new consequence within the same category or a category of lesser intrusiveness within 1 week of change. Also, restraint was allowed for non-aggressive, non-destructive, and non-self-injurious behavior if the behavior interfered with the educational development, social development, or it was antecedent or a weaker version of aggression, self-injurious, or destructive behavior. Okay, somebody explain this shit to me. Why are we restraining someone when they are in no way a threat to themselves or anybody else? How is that supposed to make sense? Explain this shit. And how does anybody think it made sense in the 80s? If they are not doing anything other than disrupting your fucking neurotypical bubble, why would you just go for restraint? They're not threatening you. They're not threatening anyone else in the room. Seriously? And then, they'd be like, but medications are bad, okay? I'll take the fucking medication over being hit with a spatula, okay? Just saying. In reviewing Vi's treatment plans 1986-1990, her problem behaviors remained the same. The categories are subject to change. Existing topographies were shifted from one behavior category to another, making determinations about the effect of adverse consequences or other forms of treatment very difficult. Duarte Report, page 25. What does this tell us, folks? That adversive therapies do not work. They do not work, people. They don't work. My Exhibit A. When you have someone where the issues are stemming from their brain, no aversive behavior modification is going to work to change that behavior because it is coming from their neurology. It's not willful behavior. Therefore, behavior modification makes no sense. None. However, pharmaceuticals make perfect sense. Why? Because it affects the brain, where these behaviors are stemming from. My God, people, it's not rocket science, it is basic common sense. Moving on. Other elements of treatment programs were fines, loss of privileges, earning her calories meals. God. So they're going to starve her into compliance. Fantastic. And how did that work, Karen? And casual rewards such as verbal praise, a pat on the back, and or pennies. pennies. God. See Duarte Part for more details about Vi's treatment. Alright, we're going to keep this relatively short this morning. Keep it short and sweet. There is this idea when dealing with people who are developmentally disabled, especially those that get put on ABA, that behavioral modification will work because it is teaching alternative behaviors or creating consequences for negative behaviors, that it will teach us better. But it is made on a fallacy. This idea that these behaviors are learned and willful and are performed to get a certain result is complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit. These behaviors are not willful. More often than not, they are not learned. They come from our neurology, okay? And it is usually triggered by something. So, when you are in a situation when it is coming from your neurology and the behavior is coming out because it's triggered by something, instead of using behavioral modification, which does nothing because it's not a willful behavior, wouldn't you think the better idea would be either A, find out what's triggering that behavior, or B, if it's something that is chemical that is inside the mind that is triggering that behavior, you would then find the appropriate medication to assist with that issue to again treat the behavior, as opposed to force behavior modification on someone whose behavior that is coming out of them is not willful and is obviously being triggered by something. You're not solving the problem by punishing the person with the disability or praising the person with the disability when you get what you want. It makes no sense. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And I do not understand this mentality that is used to this day, that we can treat behaviors coming from a neurological condition that are involuntary. Again, let me use that word, involuntary, with behavior modification. It doesn't work, people. It doesn't work. Now, people will sit there and say, but my person has become more verbal with ABA. They're more well behaved. First off, they're masking. Okay? ABA is not suddenly making your child more normal. Your child is giving you whatever the hell you want so that you'll leave them the hell alone. Okay? For those that it quote unquote works for. But for behaviors that stem from our actual neurology, the meltdowns, the sensory issues, the screaming due to noise, ABA is not going to do shit to stop that. Appropriate accommodations, proper medications, and just fucking proper common goddamn sense will. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and close out this morning. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, please don't forget to hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments, and please feed that algorithm. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, we here at Spelling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye bye.